Hello, everyone. Yeah, welcome to a new episode. I'm super happy and excited to have Chelsae Zirna here. She's a female embodiment and empowerment coach. And yeah, she has an amazing journey and a lot of things to tell us about how to reclaim your wild side and to get into your feminine essence, to lead from the feminine. And I'm very excited about this interview. Welcome, Chelsae. So good to have you here.
Thank you so much, Sylvia. It's so great being here and being able to share this work with your listeners.
Thank you. Thank you, Chelsae. From where are you calling?
I'm in Tulum, Mexico.
Wow, beautiful. I know you've been living there now for a while, and you're also hosting wonderful Rewild retreats there
Yeah.
to really take women through this process. We're going to speak about that later also, about this Rewild process to dive into the feminine. And what a better place to live than in Tulum.
Yes,
Wow.
for sure. Oh my gosh, yes, I'm so grateful. Yes, I have been, hosting retreats here now for the last year and a half. I've held 4 retreats here, and I really feel honored to be doing this work and to be helping women step into their rewilding nature.
Yes. So as we started right into that, what would be some takeaways or some nuggets that women experience in this retreat? Where can it take them to?
Yeah, so I think a lot of women, when they are looking for a retreat, especially when even if they don't know what they're looking for, sometimes women just say, I want to reconnect to myself. I want to reconnect to my true essence. I want to reconnect to my self-love. I want to reconnect to my heart and my desire and the core of who I am. And I don't know if a lot of women go out looking for like a wild woman retreat, but I think a lot of women set out to say, I just want to connect deeper with something beyond. And Tulum is an amazing place because it's called the land of manifestation. So it has a really powerful energy. It's in the Yucatan Peninsula. And like years and years and years ago, a bunch of craters hit the earth and they left these pockets of water underneath. And so all of Tulum is built on a city of water. And so the electrical current is really good for like manifestation power and just conducting energy. And so everybody that lives here feels this instant manifestation of thought. And there's a saying that says Tulum either sucks you in or spits you out. And that's because your thoughts become reality. So sometimes your thoughts are pushing you out. Sometimes they're just like sucking you in and you can't leave Tulum in the best of ways because so much is constantly manifesting. So it's a really powerful place to host retreats in general. So I think a lot of women have been seeking some spiritual connection and just getting in touch with themselves, especially with, this great shift happening on the planet. And, leadership is one of those main areas that women are shifting into even more. And I think like when we're talking about leadership, it's not just like leading other people, but it's also like leading your life with total sovereignty. And so a lot of the retreat is about helping women get in touch with their desire, their fears, their boundaries, and also get in touch with their sovereignty and their leadership potential through that. And so, yeah, it is about rewilding. And like, rewilding is this word that I like to use, and a lot of women use it, of getting in touch with the most wild, free, liberated part of yourself through that. The methods I use are breath, sound, and movements. So a lot of it is ecstatic dance and breath work and sounding, like opening up the voice for liberation and just connecting these 3 things together to create this incredible sense of like connection to the jungles and nature and everything beyond, which then connects you to your truth, right? Like connects you to your root, like the root of who you are.
Beautiful. Yes, I can also connect to what you first said, that Mexico is such a place for manifestation. I've been there last year and I had the same experience, things manifest instantly. And as you're saying, like now it is changing. There is a shift in leadership dynamics and women are called to live their feminine power. And you also spoke about how you're taking them through the process. So it's a lot about embodiment. What would you say is the difference between knowing and embodiment? Because I know there's a big difference, and I've been also experiencing it a lot because I've been in personal development for a long time, and a lot of it was information, understanding, doing many practices. But what is actually embodiment, and what is the difference? Where can you take people to?
Yeah. So an exercise I love doing with people is choose an animal and become that animal. And you notice that some people are acting like the animal. So they try to pretend that they are the animal. And then other people are just becoming the animal. They're embodying what it would feel like to be the animal. And then they just like, they, just move around differently. And I think that it's a fun example, but actually when you take that and you expand upon it, it's like we can act like something or we can become it. And so embodiment is actually like being that and experiencing that and having a direct experience versus regurgitating information. Like I think when I first got into personal development, there were a lot of people listening to Tony Robbins and Gary Vaynerchuk and just like quoting things. And it was just like, okay, that's an amazing start. Like learning from people and then regurgitating the information. It's like, it's like an understanding. But then there's a layer beyond where you don't just learn the information, you actually embody it and you become it and you live it. And it's so ingrained in your system that you could teach it from a place of lived experience. And it's more than knowledge, it's wisdom. And beyond that when you're in that state of embodiment, you're actually able to tap into your internal wisdom of maybe like knowledge, or I'm not going to even use the word knowledge, but just wisdom that's beyond the mind that you don't learn through a book. You learn through connection with the earth and just like connecting with beyond and connecting with spirit and, having this channel fully open so that just information can just move through you without maybe even knowing where it's coming from. It's how you develop your clairsentience, your clairvoyance, your all of the sixth senses in a way.
Wow, yeah, I really like that. I also like the example that you gave in the beginning with this exercise of acting like an animal or actually being the animal. And I want to ask you, because you also have an interesting journey from your career. How was it for you? Because how was your former life, let's say, your classical career? I know you've done sports, competitive sports, and you moved through a classic career, and then there happened a shift to what you're doing now. If you look back, what would be like acting it and being it? Because I also see that there is, maybe many women out there still acting due to values or models that have been created, but might be not anymore, might be not actually real. For example, like the old roles of success and what does it mean to be a powerful woman? How did this term change for you over your personal own journey?
Yeah. So for me, I'll give another example. Whenever I used to go out onto a dance floor, I would always like bring a friend with me. I would always, or have a guy, and I would say, would you like to dance? Or he would ask me to dance, and then I'd feel more comfortable. I was scared to dance in public. Like I just wouldn't do it. I love dancing in my house. I love dancing by myself, but like whenever I was in public, like I wouldn't. And it wasn't until Mind Valley, actually, where a mutual friend, Felipa, she actually grabbed my hands, and because I was asking her, what does it mean for you to be feminine? And I was asking a bunch of women this question. and every woman had their own definition, and they were kind of just sharing it. And this was a few years ago. And she took my hands and she took me onto the dance floor, and she closed her eyes, and she just started like moving her body in the most wildest of ways. And I just closed my eyes and I just started like mirroring her. And when I opened up my eyes, I looked around and I was like, oh my God, like the whole dance floor was filled with people all of a sudden. And she goes, this is what it means to be feminine. It's you're not dancing for anyone's approval. You're not dancing to just be seen a certain way. You're just in your own experience fully, and you're just like, you're magnetizing because of that, which is the feminine essence. And that carried into every single thing that I did. Like, yes, it started in dance, but then it was just like, wow, that's how I want to show up in leadership. That's how I want to show up in this way, until it became just me being so present and so in whatever I was doing that I was an embodied expression of that thing. And it was no longer just like me up there with a, like a script, like at IBM, it was me like actually being in my experience and talking from that place of like lived experience. And it doesn't mean that you have to be, I keep saying lived experience. It doesn't mean you have to be like, 80 years old and have this whole lifetime of knowledge. It just means that you're actually like living what you're saying versus just hearing somebody else and then saying it. Or just like, it doesn't even have to be about information. It could just be having a discomfort in the body and just noticing that, and noticing where there's some fear, and actually leaning into that place to reach that space of liberation, which will liberate every other part of your life.
Beautifully told. And also, if I look back into the corporate world, right, how powerful would it be if a woman would actually feel the discomfort and say like, hey, I'm not having a good feeling about this client or about this meeting. Can we change this and that? And I think it would totally shift also the definition of success, because intuition can be the fastest track to, let's say, success, or to to a fulfilled life, foremost, right?
Yeah, for sure.
What is a wild woman, and why is a wild woman the expression of liberation? Why is it key? And for example, or can you take us through some examples for our audience? How can they get there? How can they get to this place?
Yeah, I would say a wild woman is a woman who marches to the beat of her own drum. She listens to her intuition, and she doesn't just accept the rules of society. She actually listens to her body and says, does this resonate for me? Is this true for me? And then lives by that. And she is free in the way that she moves her body, and in the way that she expresses herself. And I would say the best way to get in touch with the internal wild woman, because in our society, it's definitely the most feared archetype. It's the most repressed. And I think that's why it's so enticing for me, because I repressed it. And I know that almost everyone I was surrounded by repressed it. And it was the thing that gave me the most liberation. And I would say ecstatic dance was a huge way for me to get in touch with that. But really, any breath, sound, and movement, those are like the fundamentals. And just like sounding, opening up the voice, connecting with the voice, especially because a lot of women, whether you believe in past lives or not, a lot of women, even in this lifetime, has their voices just shut down. And in past lives, it said that a lot of witches were burned at the stake for speaking. And so this potentially has been carried over into this generation. And so there's this suppression in the voice and the body and speaking and moving and freedom. And so this is like a reclaiming of our freedom. And I think now more than ever, it's actually really important to get in touch with the wild woman because of everything that's happening in the world. Just like really sitting with what is true for me, and really like feeling into how to reclaim our freedom and in our own, like taking full sovereignty and full responsibility for our experience. I think that's super important.
Wow. Yes. Yeah, I would definitely love to see more wild women. And I do also see the struggle. I also feel the same sometimes with bridging it to the old world, right? How do you see this shift could play out? How could the wild woman really come to the surface and also change dynamics, and what is practically also changing in the woman that you work with, and how are they showing up after you work with them?
Yeah, I would say before coming to a retreat, I would say in the body, there's this state of just almost a little bit being shut down because a lot for a multitude of reasons, but a main reason is just, especially in the United States, there's a lot of like different belief systems, and sometimes there's people just get to a place where they just don't feel safe expressing themselves. And they just feel like it's not, I can't just like go out and dance. People are going to think I'm crazy. And especially because a lot of places have been locked down and people haven't really been able to feel free in their movement. I think people come to the retreat feeling a little bit closed, a little bit contracted, a little bit not fully connected to themselves, to spirituality, to their breath, to their self-love. And after the retreat, women are feeling super connected to their heart, connected to the other women there, and which creates a level of safety for them to have this, oh, wow, I know that I've been seen in my deepest expression and I've been loved for it. And therefore I can take this energy that I cultivated and bring it back with me. And it's just a level of accepting a part of your state when you're in joy, when you're in bliss, and allowing that to be safe to bring back with you wherever you go. Because sometimes people don't really feel comfortable or safe expressing their joy fully, expressing their bliss, like being in their full expression, because they'll be judged for it, because they'll be like, wow, that person is a lot, too much, and so in this place, it's safe to do that. And then we cultivate that safety enough to where they can go back and be like, I'm going to dance every day because it just feels amazing. And that's how I self-regulate my emotions on a daily basis. And that's how I feel good every day.
Oh, I love that you said that about self-regulation, because of course women have maybe also through the hormones more emotional up and downs than men, or I don't know, I don't want to generalize it. Maybe also men have had a lot of conditioning. Maybe women in this space are allowed to live a little bit more freely, but they do have these waves, right? And how to show up constantly in this classical world and deliver and succeed. I mean, there's a lot of questions how to show up in this place. And I love that you mentioned that women should regroup and have these safe spaces together. Last year around that time, I also was on a boat, and I hosted a women's circle on the boat. There were only couples, but this was only for the women. And it was magical because it really stabilized the whole energy of the group. And it is, if you're with 8 people across the Atlantic, for 16 days, it is so important to stabilize the energy. And I noticed that when women come together, they create this magic. They're actually holding the space for each other. So I can imagine that it's probably super beautiful to be in these groups and experience this group immersion.
Yeah, that makes it so much more powerful, like having sisterhood supporting you and feeling loved by sisters. I think a big thing that a lot of women experience is the sisterhood wounds. And that either started from, and what it means is it's like a mistrust in sisterhood, or just feeling that you don't fit in, or feeling that you're going to be judged, or feeling that, that you have to compete with other women. And I think that these retreats are really any group setting with women, and that promote like sisterhood bonding, heals a part of that, whether it's from middle school where you were teased, or whether it was from, later on in life, or by your own sister. I think it's really healing to be around women who are there to support and love you, and that's their intention. And you feel safe then opening up, maybe even for the first time, or maybe, I think a lot of women, especially in like American culture, tend to have this phrase like, I don't get along with women, just men are easier to get along with. And I think that women need women. And I think that like that phrase is actually an escape to actually connection. And there's a really beautiful, like, there's so many different ways to actually connect with women, but it can be the most healing thing possible for sisterhood.
Yes, yes. Women need women. I really like that you said that. And I can also see how it really lifts the self-confidence up if you have these also reaffirmation, or you can also speak in a safe space and share what's going on inside of you, or share your emotions, share your struggles as well. I think that something like this vulnerability is maybe something that women need maybe even more than men, or they need to feel the support. How is this in the retreats, the shared vulnerability?
Yeah, I think that both men and women, when they open up to vulnerability, they open up to another layer of self-love, because you're allowing yourself to really be seen and be heard. And that creates a deeper level of intimacy. And at the end of the day, we're all really wanting to feel intimate and like be seen and be heard. And vulnerability it's obviously not easy. And, Brene Brown is famous for this, but it takes a lot of courage to actually step into vulnerability. And I think it's kind of underrated. I think actually like vulnerability is one of the most important things we can do to connect with other people. Just drop our walls and just allow ourselves to be seen for our truth. At the end of the day, that's what we're doing. And retreats do that too. I mean, in the retreats, we have authentic relating workshops where the women can actually like really see each other. They can eye gaze with each other. They can go into the space of just full expression. And it's also vulnerable to like drop layers and just be seen in your movements. So we have a place in the retreat where there's each of the women gets a chance to like debut herself in a dance and be seen by the other women. And it's like really powerful to allow yourself to do that, and also to just be witnessed in awe by other women.
Beautiful, beautiful. I like what you said also with the eye gazing and the step-by-step process. I can also connect to that. Eye gazing was something that at the start of going deeper for me, and to really feel like in this connection, what happens then, right? To feel seen, as you said, and to see there is another person, a human being, to speak from heart to heart and just drop all this professional mask that we sometimes tend to wear. And it's so much more direct when we get there. How do you see the female leadership in contrast to the male leadership? How can they support each other ideally? And where do you see the biggest challenge right now, or the disbalance?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, we all have internal feminine and masculine energy within. And I think right now, the general pattern is that a lot of women start out in their life with underdeveloped feminine energy. So they're kind of more in the wounded aspects. And to combat that, they move into this, let's say, empowered masculine state. So they move into the state of really, manning up and putting on their suit of armor and getting really good at structure and strategy and logic. And then most people, I would say there's a certain percentage of women that then go beyond and they go into their empowered feminine state and they lead with their feminine energy and they come back into their feminine essence. I think right now we're in this transition where a lot of women are really comfortable in the masculine energy and they haven't yet moved into that empowered feminine energy. And that the journey is actually opposite with men. A lot of men start in this like more like wounded masculine energy, underdeveloped masculine energy. They move into the empowered feminine if they're doing the work. A lot of men are, we see a lot of times in the spiritual community, a lot of men that are really in touch with their feminine energy. And then for a lot of men, the last step is actually moving back into the empowered masculine energy. And again, we both have masculine and feminine energies within us. So it could be different for every single person, but this is the general journey. And I think right now in our culture, there's a lot of people that are really comfortable in the masculine energy. A lot of women that are really comfortable in the masculine energy, and they're in a lot of men that are actually really comfortable in the underdeveloped masculine energy. They haven't yet gone and went to the empowered feminine energy yet. So I think that as a culture, we're actually needing to just evolve and up level into these next phases. And in order for men to actually embrace their feminine energy, they have to learn to respect it. And they actually have to want and see the importance of why they need it before they can ever get even to their empowered masculine energy. And same with women, you know, they have to reclaim the part of themselves that really wants that feminine energy again. I did market research last year, and 90% of the women that I interviewed were scared to get in touch with their feminine energy because they didn't want to lose their masculine energy. So there was almost a fear of not having their masculine energy. And so I think that there's just a lot of deconditioning that we need to be doing around healthy feminine energy and actually reconnecting back to the feminine energy in both genders.
Mm-hmm. Especially what you said in the end, I think it's very interesting that so many women are scared to lose their the masculine once they step into the feminine part, right? Maybe you can also share a little bit from your journey. I can say from mine, it has definitely been true that when I stepped more into the feminine, I was struggling a little bit with my old idea of the masculine side. So it can be overwhelming to dive into your emotions and to let go of control and to just, you know, see what comes out of you. And you might go through phases, which not all of them are super pleasant, let's say, until you evolve. Maybe you can also share a little bit more about that later. And I also like that you were speaking about how did you call it, the healthy masculine or the developed masculine and the developed feminine, because if they work ideally together, right, the man is actually designed to create that safe space so that the woman can rise in there and can play and can be creative, and the man can hold her and they can actually learn from each other. So I think it's interesting that you said that women are scared of losing their male side. And I think it is because we're not fully trusting the man as well. We're not really trusting to behold. And if we're like radiant, that there will be someone who's attracted by us, or who not only attracted, who actually really commits to us on such a deep level that he holds us. How do you see the change in relationship dynamics or even power dynamics? Like right now, the women still are fighting for their independence, right? How do you see that come to play when the woman is elaborated in her feminine?
Yeah, well, I think within all of us, we all have this perfect state of homeostasis, where when we're in balance within ourselves, we find that place of homeostasis, meaning when we're internally balanced in our masculine and feminine energy, even if we allow one of them to lead, like if we're allowing our feminine to lead, we can still be balanced in our energy. We're just allowing her to lead first, allowing our internal feminine to lead first. In a relationship, there is a polarity. So we have this balance within, but we also have this polarity between, right? So masculine and feminine obviously attract in equal and opposite ways. So in relationships, you know, when a woman is able to surrender into her feminine, it actually empowers the masculine to surrender into his masculine. And in general, in relationships, we do take on a role. And not always the woman takes on that feminine polarity. Sometimes the woman takes on the masculine polarity in a relationship. And there's no right or wrong, but I would say in general, women really love and enjoy being in their feminine and leading in their feminine. And it's empowering for a man to lead in their masculine and be in their masculine energy. And when they can trust each other, when the women can trust the man to lead, and a woman can surrender into a man's leadership, that's when there's the most polarity and the most excitement in a relationship. But a woman can't surrender to something she doesn't trust. So there has to be an internal trust with her own masculine energy and a trust in his in order for that to actually happen.
Beautiful. Yeah, I like what you said about the trust. So it all starts with the trust within first. So every woman, which actually that's beautiful. So every woman can start now with herself and go on her own journey, and then the magic will follow and express in all aspects of her life. Can you take us quickly through the Rewild process, or also, I mean, you also founded an academy. How can women get in touch with you, and how can women experience the Rewild process?
Yes. So my creation right now is actually called the Empress Temple, or the Empress Code. So we had this event series that we were hosting called the Empress Temple. And now we're actually hosting an actual program, a course called the Empress Codes. And it's the 13 codes of the Empress, which is all about that third stage of feminine leadership. So I talked about the first stage being the underdeveloped feminine, the second stage being the empowered masculine, the third stage being the empowered feminine. And there's so many different stages. That's just one area. We actually have 13 ways of moving through these three sequences. And so it's all about getting into that third stage of leadership overall. And so yeah, the 13 codes actually starts on February 15th, and it's going to go for 7 weeks. And we're taking women through a journey into stepping into their empowerment in all ways, in the way that they love, in the way that they lead, in the way that they show up in the world, in the way that they experience their bodies, and the way that they experience their sexuality, and the way that they experience leadership, like leading teams and being led by other people, experience their power, and what it means to actually hold power. So this is going to be, my main focus and my main creation for the next, for the first kind of half of the year.
Wow, that sounds really, really interesting and exciting. I will definitely share the link below.
Okay.
So what was the name again, and what was the starting date? It was very soon.
The Empress Codes, yes. It starts on February 15th. We also have an automated course for women who just want a taste, and they can take that. It's 5 modules. They can take that if they'd like to.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I want to share for the ending a quote from your website, which I really liked. Good God, woman, we need you creating, because a woman who creates is a woman who feels, and a woman who feels is a woman who moves, and a woman who moves, well, she changed the damn world just by existing. By Brooks Solis, and I just love this quote. And I just loved also the creativity, the movement, everything is in there also that you just mentioned, the parts that you are looking at in your processes. Yeah, maybe you can also say why you put it and what it means to you.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite quotes. And, you know, the more that I've gotten into this work, the more that I just see the feminine energy as pure art and pure expression. And women have a lot of emotions, right? Everyone has a lot of emotions, but specifically women has a lot of emotions. And being able to just express those emotions and put them into art, put them into creation, use that raw energy, like that is just, I think when we allow ourselves to do that, and when people respect women for doing that, the entire world could shift just by honoring that.
Beautiful. And maybe do you have any tip or recommendation for those women who are currently struggling with their emotions, who might have suppressed emotions or these emotional up and downs, good days, bad days, and they're struggling to perform in this world that they might think they need to show up consistent? How can they deal with their aliveness, and how can they channel their energy in a good way?
Yeah, there's so many things that you can do. I would say breathwork is the number one thing that you could do to instantly change your state. And breathwork is something that I think is becoming more and more and more popular, but it doesn't take that long. In 3 minutes, you could change your entire state, your emotional state of being, just by doing a simple breathwork. You could do the breath of fire, where you just for 3 minutes, you're just in and out of the nose. And what that's doing is taking all of your thoughts and just for a moment, letting them go, because we only really hold on to emotions for a few seconds. And after that, we're choosing to hold on to those emotions, right? So we only experience the emotions for a few seconds. And yeah, we can amplify them by thinking about it and planting it in our body and then expanding upon it. Or we can allow ourselves to self-regulate and change our entire state. And when our mind is clear, when our emotions are clear, we're able to be channels for creativity and new information to come through. And so just doing these simple exercises, and it's amazing. We're so lucky that they're so simple, and just doing them for 3 minutes can change your entire state of being and clear and self-regulate your emotions. You know, people say that you either repress your emotions, escape your emotions, express your emotions, or release your emotions. And so here we're in this process of not escaping, not repressing, because that leads to depression, that leads to vices, but we're instead expressing and releasing, just to create the state of harmony in our bodies.
Powerful. And I love that, to have this tip to change instantly, because we do have the ability to change instantly. I think too many women out there are maybe gave up hope or still struggling, right? And it is so good to hear it is possible, and just move, just do this one thing and make it a habit. You said self-regulation practices, right? So it's really a habit of integrating that into the personal life.
Yes, for sure. Yes, so amazing.
Do you have one last message to our audience?
Let's see here. I would say if you're listening to this, chances are you were guided to this exact message, and either you're on the path of rewilding yourself, or you have a girlfriend or a sister who's on the path of rewilding herself. And men also can rewild, and they should rewild. It's definitely a part of the journey of coming back to your natural essence. But I would say if you were guided here, chances are that you're on this path. And I would say get in touch, find a breathwork or an ecstatic dance place that you could go to, and just start opening up your expression and opening up all the places in your body where you feel contracted, or you feel maybe even like hiding, or you feel like a little bit blocked, and just allowing yourself. And a great test, if you're like, I don't know if that's me, well, go out in public and just allow yourself to dance in the most wildest of ways and feel how you feel when you do it. Do you feel self-conscious? Do you feel excited? Do you feel expressed? Do you feel blocked? And that's a great little test to determine if this work could be for you, and if it's something that you want to deepen even further.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Chelsae. And one last sentence from your website. There is nothing more powerful in this world than a wildly expressive woman who embodies her dreams with an open heart. I love that sentence. Thank you so much for being here, Chelsae.
Thank you. I appreciate that so much.
And thank you so much. It was wonderful, this conversation, and I hope it reached out to many women, because this work is so powerful and so freeing, right? So juicy, gets us to the great, to a juicy life. So if you have a chance, really check out the website of Chelsae or take on one of her programs. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you for having me.
Bye.